Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to another stream on this Monday. Let's see. Just making sure things are rocking here. All right. And I'm just going to share some stuff. All right, sharing. Hey, what's up? And then I'm going to share it to my page. Okay. All right, I think we're rock and roll. Close this. I don't know why it's not streaming over on Pixologic yet. You guys on Twitch? Is it working? Okay, I assume it's working. All right. Cool. How you guys doing? Hey, what's up, Neil? So yeah, today's concept is by Sandro Cleuzo, and here, let's see. I think he has an Instagram. I'm not sure exactly. Okay. He's all over the place, so I'm not exactly sure. But I decided I wanted to make this pig today. He's pretty funny, pretty smug. He's part of a 2-character piece. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's see. So this is the original, and he's talking to this guy, and like he's telling him a big story, and the pig's just like bored and not buying it. So I thought it was pretty funny, and that's why I chose it. And I've met Sandro occasionally a couple times at CTN, and last year I'm trying to remember if he was at Lightbox. He's usually at CTN, so I've talked to him a couple times there. So hey, from Tennessee, how's it going? Okay, so let's raise this up. Kind of want to get these general overall shapes in place. Hey, what's up, guys? So how are you guys doing? Considering, all things considered, I guess. Whoops, I mean to do that. Take a break from this craziness and do some sculpting, huh? All right, I think I'm gonna put these a little bit to the back. Just learning how to retopologize. If you think about it as being kind of therapeutic, like putting together a puzzle, something like that, then it seems to go a little bit better. Because that's essentially what you're doing is puzzling, right? You're putting a puzzle of polygons together on the surface of your model. Then it becomes a little bit more tolerable, I think. Hey, Ofari, how's it going? It has been a while. Welcome. I like how this guy's belly is kind of all tucked in and being squished by this little tunic that he's wearing. Neil, it is actually. With coupon Be Safe. I know that's a little tiring. Everybody's saying it over and over and over again, but yeah, capital BESAFE with no space in between. Oh, awesome, Antonio. Great. Topogun. Yeah, I've used Topogun before. And they just announced that they're working on Topogun 3.0, which is cool. Let's see here. Kind of want to tuck this one in. Pull this down. Thanks, Pablo. Thank you, Turbinator. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've been a bit under the weather. I had a pretty bad sinus infection, but I'm getting over it for the most part. Let's see. So if I'm clearing my throat and occasional cough, it's not the virus, it's just a little sinus infection. Curl this up to be a little foot here. I have my headphones on today because I'm listening to some music, some movie soundtracks. I like to listen to movie soundtracks when I'm sculpting for some reason. Mrs. Piggy. I don't think this is a Mrs., but it is definitely a pig. Okay. Now for these ears. Need to reset this gizmo. So when you draw in an insert multi-mesh, it's going to draw it in the last known location of the gizmo. So if your gizmo was on kind of a on an angle and you try to snap it, it's going to snap to that last known angle. How long would you estimate a sculpt like this would typically take you? I don't know. It depends on how far I want to take it. If it's a game character and I want to take it all the way to a game engine, it's going to take me a lot longer than if I'm just going to sculpt a high res of it normally. So, whoops. But I'm thinking this may take me 2 sessions, maybe 1, and my sessions last about 2 hours each. So 2 to 4 hours maybe. Not sure exactly, since I'm doing a full body on this guy, but he's pretty light. He's not very complex on purpose, so shouldn't take too long. See that? I'm trying to snap this, and the last known location is that. Okay, so let me reset this gizmo again. Sometimes the reset doesn't really work. Do it down here. I don't know why it's not working. Come on, gizmo. Reset, buddy. Let me rotate this and then reset it and see if that takes. There it goes. All right. Why face only goes to the valley of the sun? I think honestly, well, that because it's the most detailed and most recognizable, and yeah, it's that's usually where you get stuck, but sometimes the body, you'll get stuck with the body. So hey, what's up, Attentive? How's it going, man? Let's see. So with this, I want to make them really thin. Kind of back this. Really hope to learn from you here and there. Made my own characters for film tomorrow. Awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to hear. You are most welcome. Oh, Neil, yeah, Chris is fantastic. So if you guys don't know what Neil's talking about, I run an online course. It's called the 3D Character Workshop. I don't know where my logo is. I don't have my logo showing right now. Anyway, if you go to 3dcharacterworkshop.com, you can get my user interface and my brushes for free. And anyway, I have a full online course for those of you wanting to learn how to do this stuff. And I have a lot of students in there, and one student in particular, a friend of mine named Chris, she worked for Disney for a while in the, I'm trying to remember, like making, I believe making like ornaments and things like that. I'm trying to remember what department she was in. Anyway, she's fantastic at giving students feedback in the student community. Bending these down a bit. What's the difference between deformers from the gizmo in comparison to the deformation menu in the tools section, and what's the function of the little white dots near the different menu options? So the first question is, what's the difference between the deformers in the gizmo versus down here? The deformers down here are kind of world deformers. They're just a single slider that will affect whatever subtool you have active and whatever part of the object that you have unmasked. And it will just do kind of whatever these things say it will do. If you hover over one of these and hold down Control, it will give you this little help pop up, and it'll tell you exactly what each of these sliders will do. Okay, so if you're interested in any of these, just kind of hover over them. And then the XYZ is the coordinates in the world that it's going to affect. So you can turn on different coordinates or different axes, whichever you want. And inside the gizmo, if you go in this gear, these are all, they'll give you more of an in-depth way to manipulate stuff. So for example, like it's not just a slider, it has a whole bunch of different utilities with it. So if I were to draw a piece on here, whoops, let's grab a piece right here. Okay, I'll just rotate it down and separate it off of here. Okay, so if I do a split to unmask points and solo this, so now I have these two objects. Now if I go into gear and I hit bend curve or bend arc, either one of these, let's do bend curve, it's going to give you these little cones. So it's not just a slider, you actually get little gizmos and tools to help you do what this deformer will help you do. So for example, if I hover over this, you can say if it's going to be symmetrical or not, what the axis is going to be. So I'm going to put it on the X axis, and then the smoothness and the curve resolution. If I pull in this, it'll add extra dots down the length of this. Okay, so if I want just one dot in the middle, now what I can do is grab that dot and move it up and down and get some cool, I could have made the ears this way, I guess, if you think about it that way. And then after you move it like this, you can add more resolution if you want and just start to manipulate this even further. And then when you're all done and you like it, you just go to the gear and say accept. And now you're in business and you can continue doing what you were doing. So yeah, that's kind of the difference. Hope that answers your question. And anytime you see a little white dot, as far as, here, let me delete this. A little white dot in the menus, usually what that means is it's an alternative way of whatever that algorithm does. It'll do it a little differently using different math. So if you see a little white dot and you turn it on, it's going to do something slightly different than with it off. And I believe you can hover over that dot and hold down control and it'll tell you what it does, either on or off. So anyway, hopefully that lets you know. Okay. That's a good question though. All right, let's get back to this little piggy. And let's get his nose on there. I'm listening to the Harry Potter soundtrack. Oh, right, Neil. Yep. Some of the deformers will turn symmetry off automatically, so just pay attention to that. Good point. Neil always reminds me. Thanks so much. Okay, so this hooks down. Let's see. This is a fun pig. I'm gonna move this down because the silhouette's kind of getting in the way. Let's put him down here. Whoop. All right. Yep, no worries. Okay, now once I get to a point like this, you can see when you add insert multi-meshes, you can see how these two are red because I duplicated one sphere into the next, and that's why they're both red. And all the rest of these are green because it will assign a new poly group based off of the order that you add the objects to each other. So if I grab, just say, a sphere, and I add it to this green one, it's going to make it blue. And if I add it to this green one up here, it'll be blue. And if I add something to this blue, it'll make it orange. And orange. See how it kind of has a hierarchical order, like a color order to it? So just something to be aware of. But I want all of these in their own subtool, or not subtool, polygroup. So excuse me, I'm going to hit auto groups, and it puts them all in their own. But the problem is it's not symmetrical, so I need to make them symmetrical. But I can see that this nose is off center. See, that line is off center as compared to the yellow. So when I mirror it, see, it looks like it has some of these lines that got off a little bit. So let me smooth it down and see if that's going to fix it or not. But if I do a mirror and weld, yeah, see how it makes a line across the center? So how I can fix this is, well, one, I can mirror the whole thing, because when I do mirror and weld, it takes everything from this side and mirrors it to this side, screen left to screen right. So I can just go under here, deformation, hit mirror, and that just swaps the whole thing. And then if I do mirror and weld, now it fixes it. So see that? It's just fine. Now it's fine. And if you have even like a few, see this one? Let's isolate it. Okay, see this little section right here? I can turn off symmetry for a second, grab move, and pull this whole line. Here, let's turn on the floor so we can see where we're at. If I pull this whole line to the right side of that center line, and I'll do it on the bottom too. Pull it to this side of it, like that. Okay, now if I do mirror and weld again, I have to unhide the whole thing to do it. Mirror and weld, that'll fix it. See? And then I can smooth it down. Let's do, I got to turn symmetry back on, but I can smooth it down and it's just fine. No longer has that problem. That's how I usually fix it. Okay. So to make this mouth, I actually want to give him a mouth cavity. So I'm going to add some resolution and then do that. And I'm thinking, as far as how this shirt is tucked here, I think I'm just going to have this kind of skirt thing float out past his stomach. Hey, what's up, Lewis? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay. And I think I want to push this head just up a little bit like this. Just because I want a sharper curve when it comes into the neck, like that, so it has more weight to it. Okay, so I'm going to add a subdivision level, and then delete lower. There we go. Now I have more geometry, essentially, for a moment. And let's see here. I think I'm going to take... Hey, what's up, Ian? Yeah, this is great. Sandro, if you go look for Sandro Cleuzo art, or he sometimes goes by Inspector Cleuzo, like from Pink Panther, you'll see he's done a lot of work for Disney and various different films and things like that. And he's just, yeah, he's a class act. He really does some great concepts. Okay. So I'll take it back to about right here. That's way too far. Okay, maybe just past this curve. Right there. There we go. That'll work, I think. And I'm just going to use Z Modeler brush, extrude, polygroup all, and push this in a couple times. Whoops. Let's see. Rebellious Player, I know that they've added some more things to ZBrush Core since I used it last. I used it when they very first came out with it, but I know that they've added more stuff. You can do a whole bunch of stuff in there. But as far as actually using it in production as a professional, you'll probably want to use the full version of ZBrush. But there is a lot that you can do. I'm trying to remember who. There's a guy that is a streamer on the Pixologic channel that's been demonstrating ZBrush Core lately. I believe he's from Japan. I'm trying to remember his name. But anyway, you can check that out. But I don't use ZBrush Core too much, so I can't really answer that fully. I did when ZBrush Core first came out. Whoops. I don't know why the symmetry is not on. There we go. Just smoothing this out a little bit. Okay. Hey, what's up, Quana? What's up, Havid? How's it going? You know who I'm talking about? Okay, yeah, I think he's a new streamer and he streamed just before me. So, and I don't know if he streams in Japanese or not. So, not sure about that. Let's see here. Oh, thank you so much, Gorbalon. Thank you. I appreciate it. I met him at the ZBrush Summit a couple years ago. Really, really cool guy. I need 2 rows. Let's see, 2 rows. He works for XM Studios, I believe. I think I'm getting that correct. They do collectibles, statues. Okay, I'm just putting a ring around this mouth so I can try and get some ZRemesher to work with it. Okay, let's see what happens here. I do ZRemesher. Sure. Let's try 5. Got to turn on keep groups. Okay, it's a little better, but it gave me some problems right here because of this. So let me try and move it down first, because ZRemesher tries to follow the flow of the color. And if it's got a point, it's not going to do very well. Okay, let's try this again. There we go. See, I kind of fudged it and made it follow that curve better. Looks like a clown mouth for a minute. Okay, let me see. This is interesting because the bottom of his mouth goes all the way up his nose. So I'm trying to figure out, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give in and end up doing Sculptors Pro and doing it that way. Trying to learn how to sculpt in the style of set shows as Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and Star Wars Rebels. Absolutely, yes. That's pretty much what its kind of focus is stylized characters like that. And since Disney Infinity was inspired by Clone Wars, and we actually had some Rebels characters in Disney Infinity, then it's right in that wheelhouse. Okay. So, you're welcome, Core. From Iran. Hey, welcome. Okay. Let's see. So I'm going to duplicate this off. Like, basically, just in case I ever want to go back, then hide it. Because at this point, what I want to do is I'm going to split the body from the head. Okay, do split hidden. So now it's just the head. And I'm going to do take this into Sculptors Pro right now and work with it that way. So I'm going to stitch things together using the gizmo. And basically to use this stitch method, you'll want to send the gizmo down to the center of the world like this by holding down Alt and clicking on the house, and then holding Alt and clicking on this circle, and that'll reset it. Okay. Then let's hide this. Then go into the gear and click on Remesh by Union, and that will stitch all these pieces together with triangles like this. Okay, and then you want to click on this gear and hit accept. Then turn symmetry back on with X. Okay, and then I want to tessimate this. But before I do, actually, instead of tessimating, what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to try and brush over the areas that I want to sculpt on. Okay, so, because right now it's kind of low poly like this. So what I want to do is I'm going to subdivide it once first, like this. And then I'm going to get rid of that subdivision level. under geometry, delete lower. Okay, so now it's this dense, which is closer to what I want it to be. Okay, and then oh, awesome, Arc. That's great to hear. Yeah, I love to watch other streamers as well, because I'm the same. Even though this is kind of what I do is stylized characters, I love to watch like Ashley and all those other, like Michael Pavlovich and all those other streamers, because they have their own workflows, and there's no right or wrong way to use ZBrush really. So everybody has their own workflows and they've learned their own things to do. So does Tessimate means kind of. I'll show you what it does. Okay, so basically if I go under, not deformation, under geometry, Tessimate right here, it basically turns this thing into a bunch of triangles. So if I barely adjust this slider down, you can see it kind of working. And it just kind of adds more density and some triangles here and there. So it just kind of does an overall rebuild of the surface. It's sort of like an interactive Dynamesh in a way, where it keeps the polygroups and just adds more geometry. And then it's kind of, so then it's a more smooth surface to then use dynamic topology, which is Sculptors Pro, which is right here. Okay. So, but that's what this slider does. So it has Tessimate and Decimate together. You just kind of roll this slider, and it'll do that. Well, that's the difference between sculpting and modeling traditionally, right? If the method of doing it this way is ignoring the topology other than for sculptural purposes, right? You're just sculpting this. You don't care about the topology right now, because eventually you're going to retopologize it later in quads, so then it can be subdivided if you're going into film, or it can be your maps being transferred from your high to your low if you're going to be going to games. So that's kind of the difference between the two workflows. But starting out, the workflows for games and film are similar in ZBrush, because you're sculpting a high resolution mesh either way, and you're going to end up either retopping it for film or retopping it for games. So yeah, it's a different mindset. It's a completely different mindset. So essentially you're going to be destroying your mesh over and over and over again, not really destroying it sculpturally, but destroying it topologically. So you're going to you're going to be getting rid of a lot of what's happening underneath the surface a lot. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so now this is a pretty good density to start sculpting on. So you could use basically something like Quadra in my, absolutely, yep, that's just the retopology version of this. So what this allows you to do is get out of your own way it's way more artistic, because you're sculpting, you're not modeling at the same time and moving points. That's the first 15 years of my career. I was moving points in Maya and 3D Studio Max and programs like that. But, you know, as soon as ZBrush came along, all of a sudden I really had to change my mindset and just get out of my own way and say, okay, you know, topology is secondary and sculpting is up front, if that makes sense. So that's a good question. Okay, so now you'll notice I haven't put eyelids in here and eyeballs yet. So I just wanted to get myself a dense enough mesh that I can just start working it. And now I have this mouth cavity, it's open. Now I can start closing it and sculpting it to where I want it to be. And I can start pushing in like the nostrils and all that kind of stuff. So it's like building your armature in traditional clay, and then putting all your clay globs on that armature just to get yourself enough material to work with. That's essentially what I've been doing here, is just getting myself enough material to work with in roughly the shape that I want it to be in, then I can just start going to town sculpting on it, if that makes sense. So, okay, and like I said, I have my full-time job now is to teach this professionally. So, I've been doing 3D characters for over 20 years now, and I worked for Disney Interactive for 10 of those years, and now I'm teaching this professionally full-time, and I have a course at 3D Character Workshop. You can go check it out. I have over 1,000 students over there, and they're kicking butt. So if you're interested in this for real and you want to learn it, and you know, maybe you want to go to school for it someday, but you don't want to spend $30, $50, $60,000, then, you know, come on over. It's a lot of fun. And I am running a special right now because everybody's kind of home right now, you know, kind of everybody's cooped up, so to speak. So I have a coupon right now, 10% off the course, and it's Be Safe, BESAFE. I know that's kind of trite now, and everybody's tired of hearing it, but yeah, that's I made it a couple weeks ago before this all hit. Okay, so the move tool does not work with Sculptress. It just moves stuff. So I'm just going to be moving this, shutting the mouth. Thanks so much, Ian. You're doing awesome, by the way, in the course. I just have to give you a shout out because it's interesting. Everybody's on their own journey, and everybody accelerates at a different pace. And it's fun. It's really fun to watch different people. What do you think about starting your model with Z-spheres? Daniel, if you know, if you've seen the Z-Zeus stuff that came with ZBrush 2020, have you looked at that? Because that was pretty much me making all those Z-sphere creatures. So I highly recommend it if you like it. I recommend experimenting with it. Nerd join, that's fine. The best time to start sculpting is right now. And I'll say that tomorrow, and I'll say that 5 years from now. So yeah, just get going. This is a really funny mouth. Oh, he is doing it in Japanese. Okay. So I have topological turned on and the range set to 3. That's how I'm able to move this lower lip without affecting the nose. If this was turned off, it would be moving both at the same time, and it's kind of hard to manipulate that way. Mr. Sanson, no, absolutely not. It's not ready. It looks like this. So you're not going to be wanting to animate it or put it in a game engine. That will come later on. You'll want to retopologize models that are sculpted in ZBrush. And you will not want to use Z-Remesher to build your in-game or in-film mesh. You'll want to topologize it by hand. Basalm, I'm just talking about my course. It's the 3D Character Workshop. I think Neil will post a link. Would you please, Neil? Would mask polygroup slider at 100 work the same as topological masking? Yes and no, but well, not really, because of the way I have my polygroup set up. So I have rings of polygroups right now. If I were to split, and I totally could, if I were to split the upper mouth and the lower mouth with polygroups, then absolutely. In fact, I can show you right now. I'll just do it before I close the mouth, because it's probably a good idea to do so. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to open this mouth just a little bit. I'm just trying to get a good angle here. I don't know that I can. Open this just a little bit more so I can see down in there. Okay, let's try this. Okay. I think that is good enough. Oh, looks like I missed a little spot right there. Okay. I started watching videos. Also, I usually take ZBrush OBJs into Maya and then use them as live surface. Yep, that's it. That's free topology right there. Yep, that's how I do it. Okay, Control W will put your entire masked section into its own polygroup. Okay, and then you can mask this. Do it again for the upper. Actually, I'm just going to hide this one. It'll be on a point. Looks like I grabbed a little bit. See these rogue faces right here? That's the bottom of the nose. So I'm going to hide that as well. Okay, and then invert it. And hit Control W to put all of this in its own polygroup. Okay. And now we have the upper and the lower in two different polygroups. Now what he was talking about is if I turn topological off and I have mask by polygroup right here on my interface, if I crank this up to 100, that just means the first polygroup I touch will be affected and the other polygroup will not. So that's a really good way to set up your mouth. You just have to kind of be careful around the corners here. You can actually like turn this down a little bit and it will affect the other group just a tiny bit, but not as much. Is that app? It's a program called ZBrush. Let me crank this back up. I don't want to touch that nose. Okay, and then I can crank the mask by polygroup back down, and then we can use inflate to finish closing this mouth off down here. There we go. Kind of fun. Kind of have it looking like I want it to. Smooth this stuff out. Hey, what's up, Tenchi? How you doing, man? Let's crank my smoothness. Where is topological found? It is found in the button path under brush, auto masking, topological. So just so you guys know, if you're ever wondering where any of your interface stuff lives within the menus across the top, you can always hover over something, hold down Control, and it's going to give you the button path. It's going to tell you exactly where it's at. All right. Hey, we have a good turnout today. 244 people watching from all 3 locations. Okay, so let's get, I want to smooth this nose out. Okay, and then I'm going to pull the eye sockets in. These ears are a bit too close. I'll pull them back. And then I need to build this up again. So I can turn on Sculptors Pro. And if I want some geometry to build back up, I can do that. So there's a few different things with Sculptors Pro where if you, right now it's the size of the density of the triangles is based off of the brush size. So if I do something like this, you can see how dense these are. Okay, if I make my brush smaller, it gets more dense. Make it larger, less dense. Okay, so it's all that's nice and everything, but I really like the density to kind of stay where it's at right now. So I like to go under Stroke, under Sculptors Pro, and turn adaptive size off. And then I'm going to turn my subdivide size down and try it. Okay, so that's about, it's adding a little bit more, which is fine. So that's about a good density right there. And the density is based off of the ZBrush scale. So the scale of your ZBrush scene. So if your model's really, really big, it's not going to work. If your model's really, really small, it's not going to work. So you want it to be right where ZBrush wants it, which is if you start with like a default sphere or whatever, just kind of make it about that size. And that's kind of why I have, if you go over to my website, 3dcharacterworkshop.com, that's why I give away a Z project with my brushes, and that has a ruler in it, and that ruler is already set and defined to like a good workspace. So if you notice, you can see my ruler right here, and I'm building within that ruler. So a good scale is, let's see this size right here is 1. It's about 1 in this XYZ, anywhere between 1 to 2. If it's anywhere in like the hundreds or in the 0.00 whatevers, then it's way too small or way too big. So that's kind of where you can check it right there. Okay. Back to making some brows here. To get some eyeballs in here for reference. It's kind of hard to see with the concept being at the angle that it is, but yeah. When you're blocking out the head after separating the proportions of the head and the jaw, what do you usually think about next? After separating the proportions? David, I'm trying to figure out, like, what do you mean? So, like, usually when are you talking about when I make the cranium and then that jaw, those two separate pieces with the neck? Usually that's how I build stuff. What I think about next is adding the nose and the ears, and then combining everything together, and then starting to just kind of work through. It's not really a straight process. You know, I don't do the exact same process every single time. It's similar, but it depends on the character, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But I just kind of, whatever's calling my attention the most is kind of where I go to. Just like drawing a picture, you know? It's like, well, I need to work on this section. Oh, I need to work on this section. Oh, I need to scale this, move this. Yeah, it's like, it's probably not, I wish it was like the same answer for every single time. But for this example, I didn't even use the cranium and the jaw. I just did one big blob because his head is just kind of one big blob. So I did it a little differently than I usually do. So it completely depends on the character. Okay, so let me get, I wish I had a better answer for you. Yep, just squirrel. Pretty much. How would you approach it if the character mouth had to be able to open? The exact same way as I just did with this guy, except for I would actually build out the mouth cavity bigger and make it kind of more functional. Since I know that he's not going to be opening his mouth, I didn't really pay much attention to building out the mouth interior too much, but I would approach it the exact same way as I did here. I would just pay more attention to it. Ian, I have, and admittedly, Pixologic admittedly said their retopology tools could be better. And there's two reasons why, and the main reason is because as you're drawing the topology, you can't really move the points around, and you can't smooth them out to across the surface. So you're kind of stuck to just drawing them on the surface. And then the other reason is you can see all the points in the back side of your model and the front side at the same time. So it really gets messy if you're doing a full character. That's why I really like the topological brush, but I only use it for building pieces for my character, like armor and clothing and things like that. But I never retopologize a full character in here as of yet. And those are the reasons why. So, okay. For the eyes, I've seen people say they prefer the standard sphere 3D with a pole, but I see that you use a quad sphere. Eventually, eventually I will use a sphere with a pole, but when I'm just sculpting, I like to keep it in quads so I can subdivide it. When you subdivide a sphere that has poles, it jams tons and tons of geometry down in those poles, and it will cause ZBrush to slow down, so I avoid it. Okay, let's see. Let me focus on this for a second. Yeah, it could. It's just like the UV master, you know. It could do it, but it's a little bit it's a little bit tricky to get it to work exactly how you want it to work. Okay, I'm going to split this off. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Why do I use Sculptors Pro and not Dynamesh? Because Dynamesh will, if I Dynamesh this right now, it would close the mouth shut. It would sew this whole thing together, whereas Sculptors Pro does not. And Sculptors Pro adds geometry as I go, and so I'll never run out of geometry, which essentially makes it so I don't ever have to re-Dynamesh. So re-Dynamesh will build your entire model over and over and over again, and it will reduce your details as you do so. So with Sculptors Pro, you're not limited to that. You can just add geometry as you go, and it just kind of grows with you as you work. What do you typically use for retopology? I've used everything, honestly. Any program that does retopology, I've essentially tried and used. But I love Maya Quad Draw. That it's really nice. And yeah, and I guess Topplegun's coming out with a new version. So, but there's not really a superior, you know. Blender does a great job. So there's a lot. Okay. So some people they like to put their eyelids in there and then Z-remesh them in there. But sometimes I just end up fighting with the eyelids. So I typically tend to build them out after the fact. Try and get these eyeballs closer together. Sorry, I'm just focusing for a second. Sometimes I'll turn off Sculptors Pro when I smooth because I'll show you why. If I turn Sculptors Pro on while I'm smoothing, it essentially rebuilds the mesh as I'm smoothing. And if sometimes I don't want to do that, so I'll just temporarily turn it off, and then smooth works just fine with what's already there. Yeah, that happens all the time, Neil, so that's kind of why I typically I've been playing around with this Sculptors Pro method, which I'm hopefully going to be adding some lessons soon talking about this stuff. So now, if you notice, subdivide size is now up here, so I don't have to go into the stroke menu. It's actually right here, and I can crank that down as I work. So if I want to create a tighter detail right here for the upper lid, then I can. And it'll add a whole bunch of geometry there, which I don't think I want it that dense yet. Let's try that. There we go. That's about what I want. And so again, it doesn't matter what your brush size is. Yeah, this is great. I love this concept too. I always try and find concepts that make me laugh. And this one made me laugh, so like, oh, okay, let's do that one. And plus I just love Sandro's stuff. I think I'm gonna move the eyeball forward in space a little bit more. That, and then adjust everything around it. Yeah, there we go. It's feeling pretty good. Now, sometimes Sculptors Pro will bug people because you'll always see these little triangles unless you get super dense. And it's working with Sculptors Pro is like focusing a camera, where it's going to be kind of blurry in the beginning, and you're just going to get your big shapes in there, just like when you're blocking out, and you're going to have big triangles. And you're just going to have to teach yourself to ignore those triangles, and they're just going to get smaller and smaller as you go. The more density that you add, and eventually the idea is to retopologize this and then subdivide it, which will make it super duper clean and get rid of all of those triangles. It doesn't matter. Honestly, if you're going to retopologize, exactly, it really doesn't matter where the density is or isn't. It just comes down to if you have enough density to put in the things you're trying to sculpt. That's it. Like the eyelids, of course, I need some sharp edges, so I want to have more density there. But I don't need that density on the back of the head, so I'm going to leave it pretty loose, right? Now I want to build up. I'm going to build up some geometry right here, some brows up over the top of the eyelids. Do I have any tips on posing hands into fists? I kind of do. So usually when I pose a hand, I start with the tip first, just mask everything except for the tip, and then I'll bend that first, and then I'll mask next to the next knuckle, and I'll bend that one next. And so all the fingers will be like this, and then I'll bend each finger down into the fist one at a time, dunk, 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 dunk. And then I'll finally do the thumb over the top of that. Make sure there's no gaps in between your fingers. Make sure your fist is super solid. Make sure this is flat and you have the arcs and all that kind of stuff in there. But that's typically how I do it. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit more density. When to use backface masking? Only when I'm using, when I'm working on something that has very, very thin, like cloth or a cape that has two sides to it that are very, very close together. That's the only time I really use it. And that just keeps you from accidentally manipulating the back of something. Like say this ear, if I was working on the interior of the ear and I didn't want to affect the outside, you can turn that backface masking on. Yep, exactly, Neil. You must have heard me say that. Another time that I turn Sculptors Pro off is when I'm using pinch, because pinch will actually pinch the geometry together. And if I have Sculptors Pro turned on, it's kind of working against itself. It's pinching, but it's building new geometry, and you're not going to get as crisp of an edge. So turn that off, and I'm going to crank that down, and you'll get a much sharper edge if you turn it off like that. Can you show the lighting settings on stage? They're just default ZBrush. I haven't changed anything. I'm just using Skin Shade 4 material, which is a matte cap, so there's no lighting setup going on right now. It's just default. Yeah, hands are tough. Treat them like a character into themselves, and you'll get there. Trying to smooth this out. I got some lumpies in here that I'm not a fan of right there. Can you explain why you should duplicate your sculpts? Just because you'll want to go back. It's like saving your file, but you're saving it within your file. So if you ever want to go back or ever need to go back, it's there just in case. You know, especially when you're going to experiment with something and try something out that you're kind of weary of. Yeah, just it's a safety device. Yeah, just like, okay, if I do this, then I will dare to do it because I have a backup. All right. How would sculpting for an action figure or statue differ from game or film models? When you're sculpting for toys or models like that, you'll typically, your details will be bigger and more bold because you're going to print it out smaller. So you want your details to pop, and your silhouettes will be more bold, and you will try and close all of the gaps if you can, so there's no holes in it, you know, like inside of hair and stuff like that. So if you're going to pull it out of a mold, it'll actually come out of a mold. And then, but the good thing about sculpting for collectibles is you don't have to retopologize, really. You don't have to bake any maps. You can just use ZBrush for it if you want. So, and then if you're going to be doing an action figure, then you're going to have to cut in keys, which, if you watch Paul's speech at last year's ZBrush Summit, he works for Hasbro, and he talks about putting in articulation in the joints and stuff like that inside of action figures. So you can go check that out. You'll actually hear me ask him to demo it because I was there and I asked him, "Hey, Paul, can you show us what you're talking about?" That was me. I admit it. I was that guy. Okay. Yep, you're welcome. Okay, so with his nose. I'm listening to the Ratatouille soundtrack. So for this, one thing you can do is use this edge loop mask border. Let me show you what it's going to do. So I masked out these nostrils, but you'll notice that the mask is kind of jiggity jaggedy, right? It has some, just because the density isn't too high. I mean, I could add more density if I wanted to, but it's, I could just use this edge loop mask border. And what that does is it puts this really clean edge around the mask and makes a new poly group. And so now I have this, and I can grab the Z modeler and extrude this in. Let's do it a couple times. Oh, looks like it's giving me some issues, but that's okay, because now I can just use Sculptors Pro and just clean that right up. I'm going to turn down the smooth intensity a bit. Just kind of work this edge. Let me go higher density because I am losing that edge a little bit. I mean, I can take it deeper than this too if I wanted to. It just depends. Like if this was going to be a collectible, I wouldn't take it deeper. I'd just probably go that deep and then make it a paintable surface so they can just hit with a color. Did I update to? No, I'm still running 20. You can see in the top left 20.1.1. I haven't done 0.3 yet. I need to. So it looks like this guy's going to take 2 sessions because I'm still just working on the head. But I do want to build this out a bit more. Turn it this way. I always like, since I'm right-handed, I always like to rotate this. And ZBrush has trackball navigation, which means I can spin it all different directions like a trackball. And when I came from Maya, I remember my head was just like, I can't get around this, because with Maya you can't spin it on its head. You can't spin it like this. You can only spin it in 2 axes, not 3. So, but now that I'm used to this, all right, take care, Ian. Now that I'm used to the trackball navigation, I want it in every program. Just doing a slow buildup of this eyelid here. Yeah, it can be toggled. I used to toggle it when I first started out, but now I think it's better just to get used to it. Okay, I'm going to change this to different material so I can see what's happening better. There's only black, what? Black on one site, not the orange one. Oh, I got this from ZBrush Summit, I think 2016. I'm not sure which. They have a lot of ZBrush shirts. This one says ZBrush Summit on the back of it. Oops. someone with your skills can work for a big company like Pixar? I mean, I'd like to think so. I mean, I worked for Disney for 10 years, and a good friend of mine with similar skills, well, I'd like to think they're similar skills. He worked at Pixar for a couple of years. He worked on Brave, and he used to work with me at Disney. Come on. There we go. Hey, Saeed, I'm good, thanks. Welcome. I actually have a couple friends that work for Pixar. The problem with Pixar is, for me, it's in San Diego, or not San Diego, San Francisco. So it would be hard for me to move my family there, because I thought about it really hard at one point in my career. I wanted to go there. I actually had my portfolio all ready to go. I was going to submit it, and I'm like, I can't do this to my family. I just can't. Trying to build up this lower eyelid here. But at the same time, I was sort of able to work on Pixar characters in a way. When I worked on Disney Infinity, we were kind of able to reimagine some of those Pixar characters. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I actually give them away for free, Andreas. Over on my website, 3dcharacterworkshop.com, you can check them out. And I've been giving my brushes away for free for 5 years or more, I think. Squish this in a little closer. Hey, what's up, Mike Black? How you doing, man? Good, good. Just sculpting a pig, you know. Nino, I don't know that I have time to talk about it during this stream right now. I mean, I can try and answer some questions, but it depends on what you want to know, I guess. So I worked for a company that was purchased by Disney. They weren't Disney to begin with. So I never worked or lived in California where Disney feature is. I just worked in games. And the game that I worked on so happened to have toys associated with it, so we were tasked with making those toys, even though we were game developers. So we didn't know what we didn't know, which was kind of dangerous in a way, but good in other ways, because we didn't know the limitations, so we didn't adapt our pipeline to, you know, we just wanted to make them look as best as we could. Yeah, so all the brushes with these icons, these are brushes that I've either tweaked from other brushes that I found to my liking. And I have to give a shout out to SK. SK is another streamer, and you should go get his set. It's also free on Gumroad. A lot of these brushes started from his brushes, like these two, and this fill brush started as his. And then this pinch brush is essentially a maw cut brush. that's been tweaked, and this detail brush is the Damien standard brush that's been tweaked as well. This is just the basic inflate brush. I didn't really change anything but the icon on it. So, and then this is my insert multi-mesh brush that has a whole bunch of primitives that come with it, like 3 different levels of subdivision, spheres and a couple cubes and a quad cylinder and this appendage brush. And I use these brushes for all of my professional work. So, let's see. How common are jobs within the industry that can be done remotely? Moving your whole family seems difficult for contract jobs. It's becoming, obviously now with this whole COVID-19 thing and everybody being shut in, all of a sudden companies are having to be forced to work remotely. So I'm thinking moving forward in the future, remote work is going to be a lot more prevalent than it is now. Because they're all of a sudden being forced to realize that they can do it from home and they don't need to have people in the office. So, I've done a whole bunch of remote work. I did some work for, Overwatch, for Blizzard, and that experience was fantastic. I wish I could do another character for them if I wasn't so gosh dang busy. But it's, working remote for them was fantastic. I love that whole team there. So, and hey, what's up, Pedro? And if the whole industry shifts to remote, then all of a sudden you'll have access to all these companies and all the companies will have access to you and all these other people that work remotely. And I think if companies were smart, in my opinion, they would harness working remotely, because I think they wouldn't have to pay people as much as they do now, specifically all the companies in California, because they're paying all these inflated rates just because of the economy in California. So I think they could get away with a lot more, for their money. Anyway, that's just my opinion though. Okay. I'm not using PureRef Auto. I'm using Spotlight. It's built inside of ZBrush, but I like PureRef a lot. Right, Pedro. It's just having the industry open their eyes to it. That's all, because they've done it in-house for so long. I saw in your YouTube videos you pressed a key to bring up the menu for the IMM brush. Are you talking about this? There's also M, like M as in mom. That one will bring it up too, if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, FX Node, I agree with that sentiment for sure. So hopefully that happens. Sad bacon. Hey, what's up, Mike? How am I adapting to working from home? Oh, yeah, that's a funny joke. Funny joke. No, it's Mike's a really good friend of mine. Hey, Mike, thanks for dropping by, man. So he knows that I work from home anyway, and my kids go to online school anyway, so the change isn't that big for me, other than I can't really go out as much as I used to anymore, or at all. So it's kind of been rough, It's been rough for all of us, but it's good. Hopefully some good things will come out of this. Art design. I'd like to start with Stylized Character Workshop. Is there any way you'll update the videos to the latest? Yeah, so I'm always adding more and more videos. It would take me a long time to redo all of the past videos. The only main difference between the how I do things now versus how I did things then was the transpose tool versus the gizmo. That's a big one. And I do have a lesson talking about the gizmo, and then I'm just messing with different workflows. And as I come out with different workflows, like the ZRemesher workflow, I put those lessons in the course. So like the ZRemesher workflow lesson is in there, and I talk about that, and I'm about to make a new lesson talking about Sculptors Pro and how to use that. I work through it on this during my Pixologic live streams first before I go and teach it, so I know that it's actually something that works and functions and all that kind of stuff. But the workflow really doesn't change. I mean, a few buttons they add here and there, a few different features they add here and there, but in my opinion, it doesn't justify re-recording the entire course, you know, every few iterations. So instead, I'd rather make new lessons that talk about the differences between the old and the new. But other than that, it's exactly the same, you know. And particularly the art stuff doesn't change. So yeah, no problem. I hope that answered your question. And I did a student-only live stream for a while where I just streamed for my students. And that's like an extra 60-something hours of content that you get access to. And the entire thing was done live inside of 2019, ZBrush 2019, I believe. So, and I take you all the way through to Substance Painter and baking the maps and all that kind of stuff. So that's additional content that wasn't in there a year ago. Yep, good old sirloin. That's the name of the character. Okay, I want to put some of these wrinkles on here. So Mike, you're a lot more productive. Art is art. Isn't that from Gentle Giant? What is the name of that movie? Iron Giant. Gosh, is that from Iron Giant? It's art. Yes, you're welcome. Yeah, I'd love to see you in there. That'd be great. Okay. And a lot of people have been joining the course lately because, you know, they have the time to do so now. So that's been nice. We have a lot of new students in there. Oh, the sirloin videos? Yeah, I cover the hands quite in depth during that. I think it's because I was thinking about that, the hand. I have some stylized anatomy stuff going on in there too, which I'm getting back to soon, but I was thinking about hands. I'm listening to the Incredibles 2 soundtrack, I think. Get up and start sooner, 0 distractions. Yeah, right? It's nice. You can listen to whatever you want. You don't have to wear headphones if you don't want to. It's pretty nice. The only thing I miss is the interaction. I mean, I get this interaction, and I play board games with neighbors and friends occasionally, and that's a nice out once in a while. And I have my family here, so that's nice, and it's not too bad. Hey, what's up, Anna? Specializing in rigging, which is great. That's you should be able to find work as a rigger, because not a lot of people want to do it. That's good, but I'm going to turn this mask by polygroups up. Work encourages us to use the video system to interact with each other. So what kind of system are you using? Are you using Zoom or? Does your course go over 3D printing the models? It absolutely does. Yep. Well, I should say it goes over prepping for printing. So how to go through your model and get it all ready to be printed. And it also, I have a lesson that goes over what to look for, like to problem solve before you send it to the printer, and look for things like air pockets on the interior of it and things like that. So let me show you just really quickly. I can show it to you. So this is inside the course. Yeah, you have the course itself, some additional training. A male bust mini course is if you're brand new, and I walk you through how to model this little head. And this early beginner walkthrough, this is looking over the shoulder of my buddy Adam as he goes through his first day in ZBrush. So that's like a really thorough, walkthrough of that. So if you go into this additional training, you'll see rendering and keyshot, and here it is, prepping your model for 3D printing, part 1, part 2. And this is essentially part 3, troubleshooting your model. And I have some industry pro interviews and things like that. Some extra stuff I don't really talk about too much. And then some student feedback sessions. I've actually moved all of these out over into the community, but I still have some there. Anyway, and then the workshop itself. So all the modules, you can go into these modules. You can see some of the stuff, character blockouts. Here's some of the stylized anatomy stuff. This is some of the new stuff, like talking about hands and mouths and teeth and all this stuff. This is a work in progress. I'm putting these out. So those are the new ones. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Riggers. You'll always get work if you're good at rigging. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, the mouth ball. That's a new one. An exercise on how to make lips. People were struggling with lips, so I made a specific practice session. Okay, let's unhide this body. The head's like all pretty good, and then the body's like lumpy sadness. Okay, let's see where we're at. 130. I think we're doing all right. I've only ever had to do rigging for video game modding, but it doesn't seem too bad. I said I don't have any. Yeah, so I did rigging for a small portion of my career, and looking at this, those ears need to go back. Anyway, I'm just like seeing stuff I need to change. So the so when I first got on working at Avalanche, it was actually called Fall Line at the time. I was working on a 3DS game called Caspian, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Narnia. Yeah, Narnia, Prince Caspian. I was working on that game, and I was rigging a bunch of the creatures and characters for that, like that little mouse and stuff like that. So that was when I was doing some rigging, but it was really, really simple because it was just for a DS game, and the polygons were very, very low. And then I did some more rigging and weight painting and some other games after that too. But yeah, I rig, or I used to, in Maya a lot. I really like the character animation toolkit inside of Maya, or inside of 3D Studio Max. That's my favorite. And the what was I going to say? And just because it has the rig auto built in there and all this animation stuff already built into the rigging tools, and it's just brilliant. It's really well done. Okay, I love it. And I was also an animator for 5 years of my career too. Did some animation. You remember that, Mike, at Sapphire? Nobody else wanted to animate, so I kind of took the reins. No. Let's see. I rigged on Xena Warrior Princess. So I rigged on that, and I rigged some of the characters on Rogue Spear. So I think when you were on Animaniacs, I was working on Rogue Spear. How do I know the live stream time before start stream? Oh, that's a good question. So if you go to ZBrush, here I'll show you. Okay. If you go to pixologic.com/ZBrush live, or if you just do a search, and we're live right now, you can watch these over there. And if you do a search, you'll find it. And if you look up here, it says schedule, and you'll see who is going at what time. So there's me here, and you can see Pablo's going later today, and Thomas Whittleback's going later on tonight. And I think you can sign up to get notifications if you follow this channel. It will, yeah, if you follow this channel on Twitch, I think it'll send you notifications. Or if you ring the bell on YouTube, I think it'll send you notifications. And then you can go to presenters right here, and you can look up all of us presenters, including like Ashley, Oscar. You can go to past broadcasts and schedule, and you can see when we will be going live next. And you can also watch some of our past presentations. These are some characters that I worked on in the past. And the interview they did with me at ZBrush Summit, that was really fun with Solomon. So you can check those out too. Any perks? Not that I know of. I don't know. It's Pixologic stuff, so I'm not a Pixologic employee. I just do this voluntarily. So I'm not sure. Let's see. I don't want Sculptors Pro on right now. I'm going to stitch this together. Let me switch back to Skin Shade 4. Oh goodness, throwing my pen. Oh, you're on Top Gear Rally too. That's right. I forgot about that game. Holy cow, we did so many games. All right. Okay, let's do remesh by union. Accept, turn on symmetry. Subdivide this, and then I'm basically, I only want to use this for the base to make the clothes from. So what's up, Steven? What did you say? Apparently it's from Iron Giant. You don't know where you picked it up. Yeah, it's so there's an artist that is like, he makes stuff out of junk, and people are like, what's it's like a fine line between junk and art, and they're like, he's trying to tell the robot what he can eat and what's art, and he's like, anyway, somebody else is asking him, he's like, yeah, Dean he goes, Dean. He's like, people saying it looks like junk, and he's like, it's art. It's such a good show. It's one of my favorite animated films of all time, for sure. So great. All right. It's a little too dense. There we go. Mike, have you messed with Sculptors Pro much yet? Just kind of, you can even do an overall sweep of this density if you want to. Oh, you love it? Yeah, I thought you would, man. Your style, you could just kind of go to town with it. Yeah, so we can just kind of do a sweeping overall density. All right. Yeah, I use the Easy Remesh plugin occasionally, for sure. Yeah, it's right. I have it right here. It's pretty nice. It does a good job. Oh yeah, with Sculptress. Yeah. Which is also a lot of fun. I still have that tutorial that I did on Sculptress a long time ago on YouTube. I don't even know how many views it has. That's when I was first starting to think about doing online tutorials. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, let me see. Look at this thing. Oh man. 2014. Yeah, it's got 182,000 views. Holy crap. That's probably my most popular video. But I show you how to make this in Sculptress, not Sculptress Pro. But yeah, this is one of my very first tutorials. Yeah. For sure. Okay, let's see. I gotta give him some pig's feet, pig's hands. Pig's toes. I'm listening to the Witcher soundtrack. Oh, such a good game. Just about 3 weeks into using ZBrush Core, would you recommend working on a sculpt for an hour each day and move on? Yeah, that's a really, really tough question. Because as long as you are practicing and getting better, that's what I recommend you do. So it's kind of a personal journey where you want to focus your efforts. If you feel like you need to practice blocking out, then that's where you should do, focus your efforts is in blocking out characters. If you need more practice with anatomy, practice that. It's like learning, I always compare it to learning a guitar. You practice your scales, you practice your chords, you practice your strumming, you practice your whole, how you hold it, all that kind of stuff. So as long as you're practicing and you're getting better, then that's what you should be doing. As far as, what you should be practicing, it's just kind of, I wish I had a better answer, but it's really up to you. What I would recommend is practicing blocking out characters the most, because that is the most important. And a good block out is your solid foundation for your character. If your block out is crappy, there's no amount of detail that's going to make that thing look any better. So make sure your block outs are super solid. That's kind of where I would focus. That's cool, Mike. You should send that to me. I want to check it out. If you still have it, know where it is. Be fun to see. Yeah, sure. Okay. Let's see. I don't want to Sculptress that together. Oh, 4R6 PDF. Okay, got you. Yeah. That's a while back, huh? I remember learning from a book that Ryan Kingsland put out a long time ago on how to make a game character. It was a female. That was pretty good. Did a good job showing you how to make a gun and stuff like that. That was way back in the day. Okay, I'm gonna try. What time is it? 1:41. I don't know how much time I have left to get this. I probably should have turned the arms. I think I'm going to. I'm just gonna smooth this back out. I don't like what that's looking. How that's looking. How much time? It's a huge question that depends on the character detail. So, characters like this will take me 2 to 4 hours ish to make the high resolution character. But really, really detailed characters will take me weeks. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna try using easy remesher with this. Duplicate this off and just try and mask it off. Try it. Let's see. Josh saying, I forgot about that, man. That's funny. I think he's in Brazil now. Josh. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. Yeah, Corinne was one of my first students, and she's had one of a really fun journey throughout my course, and she actually got a job at Disney down in Florida working on like ornaments and stuff like that. So yeah, she's come a long way since first joining the course, which is great. Okay, you can use this mask it thing. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, recess. Those are just character blockouts. Okay, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. Oh, that's right. Okay, I should have hit Alt first. Come on. There we go. What's the key I'm always pressing by accident that pastes a copy of my mesh on the screen? You're hitting Shift S. So this, right? Shift S. That's snapshot, and it snapshots a version of your model to the canvas. And how to clear that out is just hit Control N for Control New, and that will clear it out. Okay, so I have to hold down Alt and click on this. There we go. Okay, so this mask thing is good and bad. You can see that the only thing I like it a lot, but part of me is like it'll do stuff like this that I'm not the biggest fan of. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to this. And I'm just going to Z-remesh this. Let's half it. A couple times. Actually, I do want to keep these groups, but get rid of the other ones. Delete hidden. So let's keep groups. There we go. One more time. That's pretty good. Okay. There we go. Making a shirt. So the mask extract is pretty nice, except for you can't really define how thick it makes that extraction. So it's pretty cool, but sometimes it has its limitations for sure. I'll do one thing. I want to hit clean mesh. No. Why did it do that? Weird. Oh yeah, so that's how we would send our models to like Lucas and Marvel and Disney. Is we would have our character, and we would set up kind of a turntable of them on the background. So basically, we would clear this out, and we would go like Shift S, spin it like this, Shift S, spin it like this, Shift S, and then we could turn on perspective and kind of get a nice view of it. You know, and then just copy that and send it, you know. It's an external plugin on a, yeah, it's I think it's like $7 on ArtStation or something like that. Worth every single penny. Yeah, super nice. Okay. I want to give him some pupils just so I can see him looking like bored. I still need to pull his ears back, but. Would you find it, Neil? Thanks so much. Okay, I'm gonna Control D a couple times, subdivide this. Maybe here. Let's do brownish. Was colored the whole thing. Yeah, if your model doesn't have a color, it's gonna just fill it with whatever color you check. Thanks, Neil. Yep, that's true. Maybe a little bit more. That's pretty dang pink. Maybe go a little bit more in the orangish. There we go. A little warmer. Poink, oink, oink. Looks like some of his eyes poking through. Let's move that. This guy cracks me up. Need to really roll his head back and, you know, move his nose up and stuff. Is there a way to change area polygroup with sculpt brushes? I'm not quite sure what you mean. The easiest way to do that is to use mask like this. Well, let me do the mask pen. Like mask it off like this, and then hit Control W, and it will make a new polygroup out of that mask. That's probably the best way. So that helps. Okay. So let's go a little bit more red. We'll get him redden up his nose a little bit, and his ears. His cheeks. Right, Mick? Yeah, for sure. Well, kind of, you know, honestly, that's like the #1 reason I'll pick a concept is if it makes me laugh. Like that old man from last week. Or is it last week or the week before? I can't remember anyway. Yeah, it made me laugh. All right, I kind of want to pull his mouth in. Speaking of which, Mike, have you done any caricatures lately? Your characters always crack me up. Caricatures. So, his chin is so much bigger than this. Doing some fun caricature-esque drawings. Nice. Very cool. I miss our drawing sessions, even though I suck at drawing. You've done some in ZBrush. Awesome. I need to try some more. How many ways are there to merge different subtools and keep details? I don't know. Quite a few. But if you lose detail, just make sure you duplicate your subtool, and you can always project detail from one to the other. Hey, what's up, Zofo? Did you use Sculptors Pro and then remesh? No, this is still Sculptors Pro. So I have not remeshed it yet. I don't know that I will with this guy. Just trying to get some space between these eyes and these ears. They're too close. Oh yeah, scruffy shenanigans, for sure. Oh, for the shirt? Yeah, I just masked it and then deleted everything that wasn't the shirt, essentially. Here, I need to get a different color for that shirt. What color should the shirt be, you guys? Saeed, you're welcome. You can't figure out the difference between snake hook and move brush? The move brush or the snake hook has some bit of sponginess to it. So, like, see this? You can kind of curl it, and it curls as you go. Where the move brush, if I did that same, see how it doesn't curl? It just moves, right? So it just doesn't. Moving is more like stretching. And where snake hook is like, it kind of hooks it. Am I wearing HD 100s on? Oh, my headphones? Maybe. Yes, I love Sennheiser headphones. Loves my friend. Yeah, Mike knows Alan as well. Alan got me hooked on Sennheisers. Kind of straighten this out. White, light blue. Let's see. Let's check out light blue and see what it looks like here. Not bad, not bad. Here, let me color his body. Get it pink. It's not bad. Yeah. Well, so speaking of Ashley, we had this running joke for a while that if you said snake hook 3 times, she'd show up in your stream. Well, she'd show up in my stream. Yeah. So, and it happened so perfectly one time that I'd said it 3 times and she showed up. So we just laughed about it. It was great. But yes, Ashley is fantastic. She's not only, she's probably, her ears are going to burn here shortly, but she's not only fantastic creature modeler. Have you ever watched her stuff, Mike? If not, you should, because her creature stuff reminds me of your drawing stuff very, very much. And what I like about her style is she lets happy accidents happen all the time with she'll intentionally stretch geometry so it starts to shard. Like the polygons will start to break apart and stretch and look like shards of ice. And she'll utilize that and turn it into like wings and claws and all sorts of really cool stuff. And she streams on Wednesdays, but she can also sculpt stylized characters like the wind blows. So yeah, she drives me crazy that way. Multi-talented. Oh, Pepe Pig. Kind of. All right, why? Oh. I'm trying to decide what else is showing here that's white underneath. Why is this white? Oh, because it's masked. That's why. Okay. I'm like, what the crap? Okay. I want to adjust his. He doesn't have eyebrows or eyelids yet either, but I don't think I have time to do that. I want to adjust his eyelids just a little bit more because they kind of sweep downwards instead of straight across, which makes him even more funny. He's just so he's I got to show you the actual drawing again, because it's this this dog fox looking character. I don't know what he is, like a wolf or something, and it's like he's telling a tall tale of adventures and swashbuckling. You know, he's just like, yeah, there was 5 men and they jumped down and ambushed me and I took them all out or whatever. And he's like, uh-huh, right. You know, just that face. It's just like, whatever, man. He's just so full of it. Anyway, it just made me laugh. I might end up modeling the other guy too, but we'll see. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, Sandro Cleuzo is his name. He sometimes goes by Inspector Cleuzo. Thiago, about the tablet, is it worth investing in one with a screen? My short answer is no, because it's not necessary. This is like buying. It's like when you're learning guitar, or you're not going to go buy a Martin guitar when you're just learning. Okay, so you want to just go get whatever tablet you can afford without breaking the bank, because all you really need is pressure sensitivity, and that is it. So a Bamboo, like a Wacom Bamboo would work, or one of those low-priced Intuos, or any Intuos at all. You do not need a Cintiq. The only thing a Cintiq will do for you is speed up your workflow. So because it's a one-to-one, you know, you're actually working on the surface that you're touching rather than a disconnect between a tablet and a screen. But I worked on a tablet for the first 17 years of my career. I only recently started working on Cintiq, so don't think a Cintiq is going to make you a better artist. It's just going to speed up your workflow. That way, it will pay for itself, right? You don't want to do that. You don't want to get one of these when you're first starting out, really, because it's not going to pay for itself. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me there, but that's how I feel about it. I essentially just don't want you to go out and spend all this money on expensive equipment when you're just learning. There's no reason. All right, it's funny because he's got these stubby pink, these little pink hands sticking out. I'm ready for my close-up. Yeah, second favorite. Exactly. Exactly. And there's a reason why. Okay. I just want to color in his nostrils really quick. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but smooth also works on color. So you can hold down smooth and just turn RGB on and turn Z add off, and you can go along the edge and smooth it out. I will smooth it down just so you don't have that chunky hard edge. And then I'll need to give this guy some eyebrows and some eyelashes and that kind of stuff. So, all right, guys, I think I'm gonna end it here. Right after I want to pull his nose back. And up. All right. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with me today. You guys are awesome. We'll try and finish this next week. But, yeah, thanks for everybody stopping by. Yeah, use this time to learn your skills and just get better and, you know, lose yourself. With all the craziness going on in the world right now, this is a great way to get lost and just get, because art is like Zen, right? You just kind of get lost in it and you're creating and you just feel good about it. Put on some good music. That's what I'm doing today. I'm listening to some movie soundtracks. And just kind of listening to really good music and just getting lost in the sculpting and having fun with it. Even I always recommend to people, don't try and make a masterpiece. Just have fun and practice and get better. And even doing throwaway stuff, just as long as you're practicing and sculpting and having a lot of fun. So, and yep, I'll be sculpting again next next Monday. And you guys can all join me next week if you want. I'd appreciate it. And if you would like my brushes or my user interface, my ruler file, you can find all that for free over on my website, 3dcharacterworkshop.com. And I give all that away for free. I also have an online workshop if you're interested in learning more about how to create 3D characters like this, stylized 3D characters, learning anatomy, how to put in a peel and all that kind of stuff. I take you from nothing all the way to in-game character. So, and I talk about how to make collectible toys and things like that too. So, anyway, thanks guys. Have a wonderful week and we will catch you next Monday. All right. Take care. We'll see ya.